Hey gang, thank you for joining me again today. Uh, little by little, I'm navigating my way through a new set of technological issues. And anyway, so I don't have to talk about that anymore today. Let's get back to painting. Um, oh, you know what? I just realized that this little outcropping right here, part of the reason for its existence is so that it can hold a street light. And I eliminated the street light out of the painting because it felt like it interfered. Well, I'm gonna add it back in. That's funny how you can stare at a reference photo, for so long and just not see something until you finally see it. That is just so funny. And I hope that's maybe a little bit of comfort, because some of you tend to beat yourselves up when you do something like that and so forth. Well, don't. Just go it. So I'm going to add a pillar there. Okay, so while you were gone, in fact, last night I did a glaze over, as I always do when I'm finished with acrylics, glaze. Most blue here, and here. Oxide red that is brown through the middle, and some dark in the corners with some violet. Now let me take just a minute to talk about a product that I used. Here it is. Let me try to get this right up close so you can see it. This is a product called Archival Oils Advanced Technology, and this is Flow Gel Medium, a light gel for brush mark effects through to glazing, and for artists who are sensitive to traditional solvents. So you might want to look for these. However, I've had this for months and months and months, and finally used it for the first time last night. And just being honest, I'm sure that they are correct when they say that, well, I'm mostly sure that when they say that this product is better than, say, in my case, better than Liquin. But I was quite surprised and not a little disappointed to discover that it smells just as bad, if not worse, than Liquin. So, rats, because I was really hoping. Anyway, the other thing is, and this I do want to mention. Hello, David Mercer. Thank you, my friend, for hanging with me through my various travails. I hope I'm getting back to normal. Everything, it's going to cost me a lot more money than it used to broadcast. But anyway, okay. So while I was using this new product, Archival Oils, I got to tell you, I don't like the effect. It's not fast drying like the Liquin, right? This is what I usually use, Liquin. I think you all know that. But it left my canvas is much dirtier than normal, darker. It's like it's not as clean. I don't know how to describe it. My blues aren't as blue. It's more like anyway. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just not as pretty. Now I'm not too worried. I believe I can rescue this painting. But so there you go. I did an experiment. Hello, Sid. Thank you for joining me today. Okay, so let's talk about painting again. My painting, let's talk about me. Enough about you. Let's talk about me now. Let's talk about my painting technique. So what you see me doing right now is definitely this is Dan Nelson weirdness. This is Dan Nelson unique weirdness, using pencils, something like grease pencils. They're from Jerry's Artorama, Jumbo Jet Black from Jerry's Artorama. I started this about 2 years ago, or I don't know, maybe 3 now, I can't remember. And I like it. My guess is it's going to be a permanent part of my painting repertoire. Because I like the way that the pencils look. I like the lines juxtaposed. That's a fun word, isn't it? Next to, I like how it looks, laying next to the paint. So that's why I use it. Okay, but process-wise, this is typical, but after the glaze, I do one of two things. And it's never the same. Sometimes I do A, sometimes I do B. So if A is drawing with pencils, then B is drawing with small brushes. And let me show those to you. So brushes, something like this, you know, fairly small stuff. And of course, as you know, I say in the plural brushes because I'm always painting with two hands. If you're painting with one hand, you can draw with one brush, but I forget that. I always forget that not everybody paints with two hands. Okay, so the way my technique goes, after glazing, either I draw with small brushes or I draw with pencils. And usually, if I draw with pencils, then I draw with brushes next. Or if I draw with brushes, then I draw with pencils next. And that's just for those of you who are interested in perhaps experimenting with my technique. By the way, somebody yesterday, I believe, or the day before, asked me, and I haven't had a chance to answer, could you use this technique on portraiture? And the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. I don't market myself as a portrait painter. You can go to dannelsonart.com and you can, feel free to look at my portraiture. I have some there that I'm pretty proud of. Well, I guess if they're on my website, in a way I'm proud of all of them, but some that I'm particularly, I think, ooh, man, I look like a real portrait painter there with that one. And I tend to be, of course, tighter with my portrait work than I am with my landscape. But some of my favorite portraits would be, in fact, the ones that I have used this technique, this approach to execute portraits. And it's sort of like something that I aspire to is to do more portrait work using this rather crazy, shall we say? We shall we not? Rather crazy technique. Now, again, for those of you who are just perhaps joining me for the first time, again, the primary role of the primary role, not the watercolor, nothing. The primary role of these pencils is texture and line and interest. It's an abstract consideration. Now, no doubt, pencils are also good. A liney tool like this, no doubt, it is beneficial in order to achieve realism, especially when I don't always draw as carefully as I'm drawing right now. This is me on carefulness. This is me, for some reason, in a tighter mood than usual. When I'm out painting on the street, and after I've done some pencil, people will walk up and say, "Oh, you start out by doing a pencil sketch," because they see the pencil marks and they assume that the pencil marks were done first. Very natural assumption. But I always get a kick out saying, no. I start out by making a big mess. Speaking of big messes, you can go back to Daily Art Adventure 424. Oh no, it's on Facebook. I'm so sorry. I started this painting on Facebook.com/Dan the Art Man. And I started with big purple and red X marks. Now, again, the product I used to do the glazing on this painting is this. Not extremely happy with it because it's left it dirtier. But in spite of the fact that it's dirtier, hey, Mark Toomey, good to see you, my friend. It's been a while. Well, yeah, never mind. It's been a little. I want to show you. Do you see this redness? Red here, red here, red here, red here. Here I can see the edges of it. And here, and here. that was one of the original strokes in my painting was red. And you can still see it. And there's another one right here. Over here, yeah, you can see this easily. Some of the purple lines. There's purple down, another purple streak here. And here, the reason I'm showing you this is, in fact, I had some very thoughtful viewers new viewer, I think, asked me last week, you know, do you really need to do that stuff? Or are you just, you know, kind of, I don't know what, padding your technique, making your technique more weird than it really needs to be? That's not the words they use, but that would be a good way to put it. And my answer is no, 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 no. Already, and I'm not done with the painting yet, but at this point, the fact that there's this red blush that comes through the architecture here is, I don't know how to say it, magical, quite winsome, surprising. And that goes to again one of my foundational philosophies of painting, and by that I mean the principle is so universal that you don't have to paint like me in order to pursue these foundations. But one of the foundational principles of painting for me is the best painting, the very best painting usually happens, I'm talking about the verb painting, the act of painting. The best painting usually happens when you're trying hard to do something else. Susan, good question. What are they called? Jumbo, can you see this? Jumbo Jet Black from Jerry's Autorama. They manufacture and sell. It's a store, a retail store. You can get them online. Most of their business is online, and I'm sure then that these are actually manufactured in China somewhere. Almost said Japan. That would be funny. No, they're manufactured in China, I'm sure. And they're, as I said, sort of like a grease pencil. Not quite as greasy as a grease pencil. Not quite as dry as Conte crayon. They're wax-based or oil-based, as opposed to, you know, a charcoal. Some of those are wax-based too, but the wax is so minimal that you would never know. They do have sort of a waxy consistency, and I like the way they behave, both in relationship to the acrylics and to the oils. They behave in a different way. Oh, I just missed that comment. Sorry, Susan, I got yours there. Sorry about that. Somebody left a nice long comment. I'll be able to see it when I go to my computer later on. But I haven't figured out a way to answer all those comments, all those chats. So whoever that was, if you want to leave a comment, I will see that later. I will see the chats, but I can't always answer them. Okay, I was talking about this and why it works. Foundational principle is this, that the best painting happens while you're trying hard to do something else. It's a very strange way to put it. Now, Bob Ross's term, and I'm assuming everybody knows who Bob Ross is, the public television painter back in the 70s or 80s and 90s, I think. He called it happy little accidents. Great term. That's his best. That's his most. That's him at his teaching best. Happy little accidents. That's a good description. So I start my paintings with nothing but accident on purpose, because I believe that principle so strongly, and I'm coming to believe in it more and more and more strongly. Now, I did all of this glazing yesterday, so it's dry enough that I can I can tape something down. I can tape something on the painting. That's a nice advantage. You can get the photograph right down here where I can see it, which is kind of a nice treat. this building that I'm drawing right now is, as you can probably tell, one of the classic old structures on our main street in downtown Raleigh. I don't know what era. It's the Federal Building. But, you know, classic, nice. We don't have very, in America, that many old, really old world looking buildings. This is one. So I'm glad to be painting it. Susan, have I done the oil painting? No, this is, I've glazed, did a transparent glaze, blue, brown, purple brown corners. That's all I've done in oil so far on this painting. And this is, I am starting the oil process right now. Well, glaze. Now here's a funny. I'm finding that these windows that I painted quite carefully, as you can see, are all in the wrong spot. I need to move them all, at least these. I need to move them over because they're too close to the edge of the building. Just, I didn't see that till right now. And the reason I'm pointing it out is, as I like to say when I'm teaching, witness my distress. Forgive my silliness. Point being, I'm not distressed. Point being, I am not upset. And I say that because I know that a lot of students or less mature painters, they, in fact, yes, they would be upset with themselves for making such a mistake. Are you with me? Okay, you beginners out there, I want to say, I know how you think. I've hung around with you for many, many years. I know how you think. And you, most of you, not all, but most of you, tend to beat yourselves up when you make what you consider to be a mistake. When you screw up, you beat yourself up. And I'm always happy to model for you the proper way to respond to mistakes. And it is witness my distress. There ain't any. Okay, and now that I'm on the subject, though, I have to explain part of the reason why I'm not upset. And let me zoom in as close as, I guess, and let me move you guys. Hang on for earthquake ride. I want you to see this really, really up close. Okay, there you go. Here's why I'm not upset. Now, I just drew the pencil lines here a minute ago. So even now, when you look at this wall of this building, where do you see the windows? I think you see the pencil lines the most. So there's not much confusion. In the final edit stage of the painting process, well, before that, I'm going to come in darken here, and that will make the windows even more see. But what do I do? Let me use a sharp thing to point with. What am I going to do with these erroneous marks? See, these dark, where I thought the windows were supposed to be until now. What am I going to do with those? The answer is I'm going to play with them. I'm going to use the erroneous marks to my advantage, and they will actually, here's what I want you to understand, they will actually make the painting better than if I had not made that quote-unquote mistake. Because they're going to add texture to that building. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that. You might have to see it to believe it, but it absolutely is true. I'm not even holding my breath, hoping it's true or anything like that. No, I'm positive. I'm absolutely positive that that those mistakes, quote unquote, will actually end up making the painting better than if I had not made those mistakes. I actually talked about that again just the other day with different language, but same principle. So that's part of the reason why I'm not upset when those quote unquote mistakes happen. My goal in all of my painting process is to be accurate but loose. And both sides of that are very important. I want to be accurate. That's why when I discover a mistake, I fix it. But I want to be loose as well. Here's a definition of, in my opinion, here's a definition of good painting process. Okay, you ready? And this is, again, in my opinion, this is not just a Dan Nelsonism. I'm not just describing although I am describing, of course, my painting process, but others as well. Here's good painting process. Good painting process is a process in which every single step, stage, layer, now this helps especially if you paint, as I do, in stages, in layers. If you don't, that's another issue. You have other issues. Good painting process is one in which every single layer by itself is quite abstract. But the cumulative effect is realism. Get that? Every single step. That's why every step you can be kind of loose, if you will. You don't have to get tight, because every stage or phase of the painting process can and should be fairly loose, abstract. But the cumulative effect is, in fact, real. A high degree of similitude, realism. I made that up. That phrase came to me several weeks ago. I thought, hey, that's a good way to put it. So there you go. I just gave it to you again. It's just about time, I think, for me to paint without you. I'm rambling on at an unabated rate. And I think it's time for me to take a break. I think I've figured out how to do that now in this new system, new broadcast system. I should be able to come back later and continue my broadcast without sending everybody a new alert. I think I lost 20 subscribers last Saturday when I did 4 separate videos. Rough crowd. Now I understand. I wouldn't want to be bothered that much either. Okay, so I'll finish up the pencils, then I'll come back in a little while and do the drawing with small brushes, and then I'm pretty close to finish with the painting. Thanks, you guys. I'll enjoy reading your comments later. Hey, David. Yes, forgive me. My friends that follow me through thick and thin. Oh, bless you. Yeah, I still spent quite a bit of time today and have more to go, but I have answered, as you can see, some issues. So I'm broadcasting. Thanks so much, guys. I'll be back. Hello, Smooth Groove. I'm glad you made it today also. Okay, am I going to get a... Evidently I'm going. Excellent. So I just finished. It didn't take me very long because I did so much detail in the pencil. I didn't have to do very much drawing with the paint. I did these windows, did some everywhere, but it didn't take very long. And I am now down to the scariest stage, the scariest phase of my painting process, which I call the fuzz layer. The fuzz layer is translucent, that's important, not transparent. Get out your dictionary. Translucent, soft edges, light colors, and local colors. And here we go. It's any place, any part of this scene that I really want it to feel like it's really exploding with sunlight, then I'm gonna hit it with this fuzz layer. this phase I've been doing for about 2 years. And I am still wondering, very much wondering, if this in fact is going to remain a permanent part of my process. It may not. It may not. It may be a coping mechanism that I have designed to put up with, to overcome one of my chief weaknesses as a painter. Let me tell you the chief weakness. The chief weakness, one of my weaknesses is too many hard edges, not enough soft edges. Man, I wish somebody could have slapped me upside the head about 15 years ago on this one. For some reason, my personality, I really like hard edges. I mean, I like, sort of like a stained glass window-ish kind of feel. I can go all the way back to my paintings in college days and just see this tendency. And there's a part of me that still likes it. But I've had to conclude that even though I kind of like it, yeah, I like the alternative better. I like good painting better. And so this fuzz layer is my way of making sure that I have an adequate ratio of fuzz, soft edges. It always feels kind of scary because it sure does feel like I'm messing up my painting. Can you see why I might feel that way? when I'm painting like this, I feel that way. Honestly, right now, I'm learning little by little not to trust my knowledge and not to trust my instincts. My instincts are like, you're messing it up. But my experience is, no, keep your cool. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. You're not messing it up. I'm even going to take a fan brush here. I think I'm going to take a fan brush. It's supposed to be around here somewhere. And, that's funny. Okay, forget the fan brush. I'm going to use a chip brush and soften some little bit, fuzz out my fuzz. How about that? Making the fuzz even fuzzier. Okay. I am going to basically do fuzz in 2 colors on this painting. One is what you see me doing right now, which is a warm, hey Smooth, thanks for your vote of confidence, man. One is a warm yellow, I mean warm white, I should say, yellow, pale yellow. Isn't that crazy? I mean, and doing it with 2 hands, by the way, really does help me because I'm painting faster than I can think when I paint with 2 hands. And if I were painting with 1 hand, it'd be even harder for me to do this craziness. I'm warming up my yellow here for a minute. I want the corner of this building here, way back. So I'm going to do 2 colors. I was telling you. One is the warm off-white, and the other is blue. I'm going to come back with some blue. Another way to describe this fuzz layers, to a large extent, it's simply atmospheric perspective. You could just call it, let's paint some atmosphere. Okay, that would be. Except that I don't just use it for atmosphere. Like, for instance, I'm going to use it right now on this part of this building, which it's too close to be classic atmosphere. But I want it fuzzed because I really want there to be this sense of light really, really bouncing off. So anything that you want bright, light, bright, Okay, some headlights down here. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Yes, street light here. And let's do some on this flag while we're at it. Now, part of what gives me confidence in doing such crazy painting, of course, is that I have, well, if you watch me, you know, I have yet ahead of me, in front of me, the very last stage of my painting process is light opaque highlights, or what lately I've been calling final edit. Okay, and that's a really good way to describe final edit. That is a lot more sharp, hard edges, light colors, bright colors, definition. And any marks that I'm making in any previous layer, in any layer before the final edit, any marks that I'm making, I can edit them as the name suggests. I get to modify them in the very, very last phase of the painting process. So any messes that I make in this layer, if I really end up not liking them, then of course I can modify them. Oh, here's my fan brush. I was just looking right over it. Okay, hang on just a second here. Okay. A little bit lighter. Now let's come up here again, hit the corner of this building with even a lighter color. That is pretty crazy, man. I do not know if I'm gonna keep, that's getting carried away with the messiness. I'm picking on myself, sort of. Okay, that'll do. That'll do. Anywhere else? See, it's a real fine line between this layer and the final layer, which is next, which is light opaque highlights or final edit. Real subtle difference. The main difference is the next layer, that my edges are mostly hard or hard-ish, tend to be hard edges. That's the real difference between this layer and the next one. And that's a subtle difference, isn't it? Because, okay, let me grab the tissue over here. What in America most of us call a Kleenex. Right? And I'm going to switch to pale blue now to do some, again, it's more of this fuzz stuff in the sky. My sky is, first of all, quite too dark down here. And do that again with even lighter, paler blue than what I just did. I just picked up a phthalo blue there. Some of the same stuff way up here. There's sky, actually. You heard some of my spiel about sky holes. Here it is briefly. Should sky holes have hard edges or soft edges? The answer is both. The answer is tending more towards soft than hard. But I've never ever found a student yet who, when they're early in their sky hole journey, I've never found a student who made them sharp, hard edged enough. So if you're a student, you're gonna have to self-identify here. If you're a student, make your sky holes. Start out making your sky holes with hard edges so that you really grasp, get a hold of the concept. And then as you mature, you can add to that more soft edges. And once more, down here toward the horizon, making this sky light once again. That's real atmospheric perspective, isn't it? See, one of the ways to describe the way I paint is I've taken all the problems, the steps, the stages of the painting process, and to a large degree broken them down into isolated steps. Values, color, drawing, texture, and so on and so forth. Breaking each one down. Right now, I'm doing crazy, as you can see, atmospheric perspective. So I'm not worried about drawing. I'm not worried about a lot of things. I'm just wanting to make sure I have adequate fuzz back there. I'm liking that quite a bit, actually, the way that's looking. So much so that I want to come in one more time with a warm. Yeah. You ever have a hard time mixing up just the color you want? You pick up too much on your brush? Yeah. Happens to everybody, Don't think you're the only one. I want some more warm yellow stuff down here. Okay, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to do my final, even though I'm happily on a roll here tonight, I'm going to pause here. I need to go downstairs to my bedroom and I need to practice my trumpet. I try to practice every day. I don't make it, but there's no reason I can't do it today. So I'm going to go downstairs and practice. And other times I practice other instruments, but the trumpet is the one that I work at the most. Okay. Fun. I hope it's been enjoyable for you and informative. Pretty low quality broadcasting here on the Daily Art Adventure. I've been watching lately this guy. I'll give you a recommendation. This guy named his broadcast, his website is called Peter Draws. Peter Draws, spelled just the way it sounds. He is hilarious. Go check him out. Go check him out. I need to leave some comments on his stuff and tell him that I'm a fan. Peter Draws. Oh my goodness. And high quality production. Funny. Okay, there you go. It's a recommendation of the day. Peter Draws. Go check it out. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. I